Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the New Normal podcast with Lee and Chantelle.
Hello, Chantelle. What's going
What
on?
we got? What we got going on today?
Yes, what's been going on this past 6 months? The stock market been crashing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. The stock market crashed, the Bitcoin market crashed, and the Fed's raising rates. So I think it's now too far away from real estate crashing too.
Yeah.
And it's gonna hurt everybody. A lot of people don't know this. They're just thinking, oh, I'm not in stock market, so I'm fine. I'm not in real estate, I'm fine. I'm not in Bitcoin, I'm fine. But this will affect everybody.
Mhm.
So like last time I checked, now it's probably bigger. The ratio between money and debt is 1 to 50. Meaning if there's a $51 out there floating around on the market, then there's only one actual dollar existed and the other $50 are debt. Dollars don't shrink. If there's a dollar there, I gave you $1, I become broke, but then you have the dollar. So the dollar doesn't disappear, but the debt can disappear. And because of the crash and the raising rates and all of that, a lot of debt will disappear. Meaning there's less money for new business to start businesses. There's less money for companies to buy stuff. There's less job openings. So it's a cycle, right? Like if businesses think it's going to be difficult for the next 2 years, they're going to shrink jobs. They're not going to hire as many people. And when not as many people have jobs, they're not going to go out and buy stuff. So when they're not buying stuff, then businesses get less customers. So they think it's going to get worse. So they hire less people. So the whole thing goes around and around. And it's particularly bad for everyday normal people, because you have one side your income and the other side your expenses. And because the market goes down, the economy is going to go down, business is going to spend less and have less jobs and all of these things, their income is going to go down. And because of inflation, things get more expensive, so their expenses go up. So they get squeezed on both sides, and then they get fucked. And something in particular that's even makes it way worse is that in US in last month, I don't remember the exact number, but then the debt from credit cards spiked real high, which means like people don't have money anymore and they couldn't get debt from their house or stock market because it's been going down and people are shrinking their debt. But they're accustomed to the lifestyle they're used to for the past few years. And so they're still spending the same way and they're borrowing more money from their credit card.
Yeah.
And this is going to end very badly, especially they're spending the money on liabilities instead of assets. Even though assets like stock market and real estate been going down, they're actually not the people who get hurt the most. The people who get hurt the most are the people who actually don't have any assets.
Yeah.
So my advice to people, to everybody is like what's the word? Like be cautious. And don't just expect that's the problem with 2020 is people expected things happen before 2020 is going to always go on forever, and 2020 happened and it changed everything. But now people are getting so used to what's been happening in the past few years. Now they think that's gonna keep on going forever when it's not, and they keep spending like, their income is gonna stay the same, and they're spending like the price is gonna stay the same, but they're not, and they're gonna get caught by surprise, and a lot of people, might go bankrupt or might go into heavy debt because of it. So what do you think about that?
So I just think that's true. Like the lifestyle right now, everyone, like basically what you said, they don't want to fold on how they're living their life and they don't want to adjust. Um, like we see that more and more with our generation. Well, our generation and younger generations, because they grew up with this sort of like I don't know, just artificial view of life. So I think everyone's just going to do like business as usual, and then they're going to learn the hard way when it's already too late. And that's just the way where the world is going now. So I don't know. There's not much to say other than like, yeah, giving everyone a heads up with, hey, listen, watch your spending habits. Um, yeah, I
Hmm.
don't have much
Yeah,
input
especially the
really.
last 2 years, some people, because staying at home, they started their own business, and online business and things like that, and they're making good money, so they just think, oh, I'm making this much money, it's going to always be this much. But then
Yeah.
when things open up, people become poor, because that's essentially the goal of the Fed raising rates. They want to force everybody to be poor, so people
Mhm.
spend less to push the inflation down. So you will be poor. That's for a
Mhm.
fact. And when people are poor, the people are going to spend less things buying your whatever your business idea is. So if you've been making whatever 100,000 in the past 2 years, you're like, oh, things are going well. So you're thinking it probably go to 120,000 this year. Boom, it goes down to 60,000.
Mhm.
If you're planning like that, then it's gonna catch you by surprise. And at the same time, when the past 2 years, where you can spend your money were very limited. Like you're staying at home, there's no flights going anywhere. Like where are you gonna spend your money? So it's like naturally it forces you to spend less.
Yeah.
But people think that's just, them making good decisions. But then now when everything opens up, everything looks good. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I can fly there, I can buy this now, I can, you know there's a lot more choices. They couldn't resist. More people buying cars, like all types of things. So at the
Mhm.
same time, when their income is will be lower than they expected, they're spending way more than they thought, and people don't really track it. So they're just thinking, oh, past 2 years has been okay, so probably I'm not changing much, so it's probably going to be okay. But that won't be the case.
Yeah, unless you're a federal government employee
Yeah,
that
but
always has a job and you go through your, you know,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is your mentality is very dangerous.
my mentality.
Yes, yes.
No, I'm talking about everyone in general.
No, because you're using the past to predict the future. You're like, oh, in the past, federal employees were safe, so in the future, probably going to be safe.
So in the past, federal employees have always been safe, and in the future, federal employees will still be safe.
Yeah, that's
That's
a
the thing
dangerous.
about government.
No, that's a dangerous mindset. In the past, federal employees have been safe is because they didn't have, uh, they weren't forced. The government's never been forced, at least in your lifetime, maybe, to force to cut spending. So what will happen if the debt goes up and everything goes up and the government's forced to cut spending? What are they going to do? They're going to cut people.
Yeah, government cut people. This is correct. Municipal gets cut first. Actually, mostly municipal, even during throughout COVID, got cut. So those who think working for government was stable, it's not stable. Only those who work for federal have never been cut.
There's a condition to being stable. It's like your job will be stable if the economy is okay, or if government spending is not too much, if that is not too much, whatever it is, there's a condition to it. So that's what the point I'm trying to make is, that's why I'm saying this will affect everybody, because whether your job has been traditionally safe or your income has been traditionally stable, all of that could change. I don't know if it will change, but if they could, that's the thing, like you have to plan for. You can't just be like, oh, it's always been safe, so let me spend like they will be safe. It's dangerous, you
No,
know.
I definitely don't think, like, even as a government employee, I don't spend as if it was going to be safe.
Yeah,
So like
I'm not saying you
even
particular.
now, like, what's that?
I'm not saying you particular. I'm just saying people should
Yeah,
prepare.
yes, I understand. But like I'm just saying, even for myself, I really don't think anything is safe. Like even being safe is a risk.
Yeah. The same way, um, people before 2020, people will be like, there's no way that government is going to force everybody to stay home. It's never happened in the past 100 years, and boom, it happened. Then what?
Yeah.
You're forced to to deal with it, and the people who's been relying too much on in-person business went out of business. We all see this in, like in our close life, we see restaurants that close down, and like like retails that rely too much on in-person business, they all
Mhm.
went out of business. So that's the first thing I want to say, because it affects everybody. So now let's go into more specific: stock market, uh, real estate, and cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. I'm not going to go into too much about real estate and Bitcoin, but I just want to differentiate between the three, because a lot of people, I think, don't really understand them very well, and the mainstream media, or like media in general, have been giving a lot of false information about
Mm.
it. So the first thing is, let's compare stock market to real estate. A lot of people take them as a competitor. They're like, oh, so I have money, I have $100 or whatever it is. Should I invest in stock market or should I invest in real estate? Which one is better? But they are not this in the same category. Stock market is a way for you to invest in a public company that's in any industry. Real estate is one industry.
Mhm.
So I can invest in stock market, but invest in a business that specifically runs real estate. So I'm still investing in real estate. If I think real estate is going to do really well, you still have the choice between, do I want to own a home myself, or do I want to buy a stock of a company that runs real estate?
Mhm.
Like stock market is so much broader and bigger. It includes real estate as one of the industries. They are not head-on competitors. You can be the most bullish person on real estate and still buy stocks. So that's between stock and real estate. Then between stock and cryptocurrency, a lot of people are saying, stock is a safer assets and Bitcoins are riskier assets. But they're not the same thing. Stock is a partial ownership in a public company. You buy the stock, then you own the company. It's ownership. You can see this by seeing Elon Musk buys a bunch of shares in Twitter, then he starts owning Twitter. He can do anything he wants to Twitter.
Mm.
Whereas for Bitcoin, you don't own it. That's the whole idea of Bitcoin. Nobody owns it. When you buy a Bitcoin, you're a consumer to Bitcoin. You're not an owner of Bitcoin. It's like there's a one time I saw an Instagram post that says, I've been paying rent to my landlord for him to pay for his mortgage. I should be owning at least part of his house. And, it makes sense to people who don't understand the difference. But in the comments, somebody said, oh yeah, I remember the time I bought a Big Mac and I owned McDonald's. And I bought an iPhone and I owned Apple. I bought a, Whopper and I owned Burger King. That's like an exaggerated way to show him that's not how it works. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how much money you put in consuming something, you don't own it. Ownership and consumption are two completely different things. Yeah, just because you've been the biggest LV fan, you bought the most LV purse in the world, you still don't own LV. You're just a consumer. So that's what Bitcoin is. The idea is nobody controls it, nobody owns it, and there's so many Bitcoins, and all of this blah 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 whatever. But then when you buy a Bitcoin, it's the product of Bitcoin, so you're just a consumer. You don't own it. There's no ownership. Yeah, there's another thing is that it doesn't produce anything, so it's not really asset. But anyway, so anybody listening to this, you do your own thing, do your own research, do things that's best for you. I'm just trying to differentiate the definition. I'm not trying to tell you which one's good or which one's bad. I'm just trying to help you to differentiate the difference. I was watching this jiu-jitsu coach, a video of this jiu-jitsu coach having a conversation with one of his former student who's like a legendary, guy now too. He owns like Hala gyms. And then his former student was thanking him. It was like, thank you so much for teaching me. Without you, I would never be here. And then this coach said, you don't need to thank me. My job as a coach is to give you the tools. I gave everybody the same tools, but nobody else used it like you did. So you made something out of it, and that's good for you. But it's not me that created this for you. It's my job to give you the tools. If you would go out and create, you will be able to.
Yeah. There's like this saying, like I don't know if you know it, but I think it's pretty common, not sure. But a fisherman who gives a fish to a man, the man eats for a day. But then the fisherman who teaches the man how to fish, the man can eat forever, kind of thing. It's basically like that.
Yeah. When I was in not high school, middle school, or it's essentially high school in North America, but I had this book called Stories for Chicken Soup or something. The chicken broth?
Oh my gosh, yes, I know, that's a series.
Like basically it's a like short stories that have life lessons or inspire you, something like this.
Yeah, we used to read those in high school.
Yeah, I read those, and I think that's one of the stories in it.
The fisherman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stories in it that were very interesting.
Yeah, that's the approach that I take to supervising now.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, because it's true, like a regular employee will just give someone the answer, but then they don't teach it, so then that person will continue to rely on another person. That's pretty selfish, if you just, for example, just give one person a fish, they'll just eat for the day, kind of thing. But then that's why I'm like, okay, instead of being selfish and knowing all this knowledge, it's not going to do me any good. I could probably help the other people, even though if I don't get any recognition for it, it's fine, because at the end of the day, do I feel good or do I feel bad about my day's work? And then I feel good if I teach someone else, and then they're able to teach another person. It just keeps on going on, and it creates culture in the workplace. So anyways, that reminded me of that. So I was like, okay, like maybe this would be fitting story to tell.
Also, when you give people tools, they might not use them the way you use them.
Yeah,
Same thing
that's true.
fishing or anything. You can teach them, they will improve, but they will improve based on the way they improve. There's another jujitsu coach I watched. Okay, I've been watching a lot of jujitsu videos. But anyways, so this coach is, they were asking him, there are like so many different techniques I can use. What should I do? Or what style of jujitsu should I do? And he said, the style of jujitsu you should use is based on your body type and your personality. It's
Mm.
not, oh, my coach teach this and this is the most effective for everybody, so everybody should just copy it. You should learn from the coach, learn the technique, learn the ins and outs, the principles of it, why it work, and all these things. But then understand your body type, understand your personality, and then turning into the way you use it is most effective for you, if most effective for you.
Yeah. And that's kind of like life, actually. Jiu-jitsu is life. But like, you find the things that you're good at and the things that are relevant to you, and then you do the best at it. It works for you because there's no right or wrong to life. It's just like what you make out of it kind of thing, and you create your purpose for life. So,
Yeah. It's a mini version of it, because in jiu-jitsu there's like less variables. There's only body type and personality. In life there's like a million more things. There's your capability,
mhm.
your values, your morals, all types of things. But then the same idea, so you got to find yourself, and you can only be yourself. Like you can only be good if you be yourself. You like embrace your differences and use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
Yes.
you just really have to be like your best version of yourself. Like I still think like kids who are growing up, or maybe you're in high school trying to figure everything out still, like it's kind of confusing. When you get older, it's like really simple. So like the best thing you could do if you are confused is like how you could be your best self, instead of saying like, oh, I want to be exactly like this person or whatever. Like it's good to have a role model, but it's not good to be exactly like someone else, because you can't be exactly someone else. You can only be yourself. And
That's a
that's the whole point of it too. That's like you're so unique. No one can copy you.
But unless you're, that's actually a two-step process. Unless
Mm.
you're like super smart or super talented in one thing, otherwise that's a natural way of progressing. Um, in the beginning, if you don't know the skill, you need to copy it like kind of word for word.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like with any new skill, like if you're learning how to play the piano, let's say, or guitar or anything, you play it exactly the way the successful people play it. But then over time,
Mhm.
because you understand it well enough, and then if you understand yourself well enough, then you're gonna start molding it into your own style. That's why most singers start with what's it called? Improvise? Now improvising. Like they mimic, like they sing in,
Covers.
huh?
Covers.
No, they sing in other people's voice, like other people's style, everything. You know how like Ariana Grande does like impressions.
Mhm.
Yeah, but most people start out like that. They start out doing impressions of other people.
Mm.
And then but later on, over time, because their skill grows and their understanding of themselves grow, they start finding their own voice.
Yeah.
So that's, there's no shame in copying others when you're starting out and you have no idea how things work. But
Yeah,
then
that's true.
the natural progression, but your angle shouldn't be just be exactly like someone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is you
Yeah,
can't be a complete carbon copy of someone else. Like you gotta you yourself is different. Like even if you do copy everything to the T, you're still gonna be different. It's not gonna be the same.
yeah. The angle should never be the exact same as someone. But it's okay to use that to help you to develop your skill and to understand yourself.
Yeah.
Anyways, all of that to say that the reason why I'm saying all of these things about stock market and all of these things is to hopefully inspire someone or spark an idea or change their mindset to do something better that I could not foresee. I'm not telling people this is what you should do. Right? Like I don't know your situation. I don't know your, all of and any of that. I don't know who you are essentially. So I don't know what you should do. But I'm trying to give you like an overview and principle based things that, like essentially giving you the tools and then hopefully you can use it for something good that I couldn't even expect.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think what I'm telling people is very valuable. I think
I think so too.
I think
If they put it into practice. So that's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, you can listen to all this stuff, listen to podcasts, better yourself. But if you don't actually put it into play, like it goes in one ear out the other, it's not as valuable, even though the thing that you're actually saying is valuable until it's done into practice.
I actually, what's the word? Like, thought about not talking about these things because I was like, all the things I'm saying is basically out there already. If they heard it, they never took it in. They're not gonna take it in because I said it again. I'm repeating it. And I accept that most people are not gonna hear this, and then when they do, the small amount of people who hear it won't even change because they heard it.
Hmm.
But it doesn't cost me anything to put it out there, so I don't put it out there in case it does change someone. Like on the lower end, you prevent someone from going bankrupt and going to heavy debt. On the higher end, it might change someone's life and may make them a millionaire if they truly understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it's important enough and it doesn't cost me anything to put it out, so I might as well just put it out.
No, yeah, I think it's cool. I think that even though, like, these are the things too, is that people, like, not normal people, but I'm just saying, like, people in general don't usually like to talk about money or things that is controversial, maybe, or has so many different methods or approaches. But that's the whole point, is to make these things like normalized in a way. It's the new normal. You know what I mean? Like, we're a different day and age now, so it's better to be exposed to these types of topics and even touch on them, even if it's not in depth, because I think that, like, just having to hear the topic over and over is good.
Also, that's another reason is a lot of people who are into stock market or who know these things, they specifically look into it, they search for it, they look at the stock channels or whatnot, whereas our channel is not really a stock channel. So the people who watch us
We're
might not,
free for all.
yeah, the people who watch us are like most likely didn't find us through searching for stocks or anything like that. So with without us, they might have never run into anybody talking about stocks because they not interested. They're not looking for it. But accidentally, if they hear us talk about it and they develop an interest in them, then that's doing some good that like that would have never happened if we weren't doing type of thing. Yeah. So, anyways, going back to stock market, right? So there's two big misconceptions I think are important to 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 address. First one is there's only long-term investors. There a lot of people are like, I'm short term, I'm medium term, I'm like all these different categories of things. I don't think there's a category. There's two categories. There's traders and there's investors. If you are an investor, then you are just long term. There's no other investor. I think a question you can ask yourself to figure it out is how much money do you want to have by the time you die? if it's even $1, then you're planning to have more money after you die. So it's beyond your lifetime. You want to have more money than you need beyond your lifetime. If you're having a goal that's above your lifetime, if that's not long term, I don't know what's long term. Yeah, like if your goal is to have exactly $0 or negative when you die, then you probably don't need to be a long-term investor because you know. But if you feel unsafe, you're like, oh, I don't know, when I'm gonna die. So to be on the safe side, I'd rather to make a little more than a little less. Then your goal is long-term, is beyond lifetime. So your plan to achieve it should be beyond a lifetime. So it should be a long-term plan too, to achieve a long-term goal. And most people don't make money if they're short-sighted anyways. Like a lot of people trade in and out stocks thinking they're like better than other people. They have a hunch, they have instinct, like this. There's like, that's not how, even as a trader, you can be a trader and make decent money, but most successful traders nowadays don't look like the Wall Street movies where they're yelling at the phone, knocking on the screen, things like that. They're PhDs in computer science and data analytics. They don't look at stock market as stock. They look at it as like a million data points and how they can develop an algorithm that can sort of cheat the result based on the data. So if you're just a person in your own home and looking at a screen and making guesses, over time you would never make money. So hopefully, people who have the idea of oh, I'm tired of a job, going to a job, so I'm gonna stay home and become a trader. And they look at all types of charts and stuff. It's this. That's not a good idea. Let me put it that way. But anyway, so the second thing is all investors, just like all investors are long-term investors. But actually, a quick point about it is one of the best fund manager of all time, Peter Lynch, in a conference, he asked the audience, he was like, who here is not a long-term investor? Raise their hand. And nobody raises their hand. And then he was like, oh, it's pretty funny that I go to every conference, I ask this question, and everybody's a long-term investor. Nobody raised their hand. Then how come when short-term stock price goes like so crazy, everybody's trading, everybody panics, then like there's no short-term investor, like who's doing that? And he says, everybody is a long-term investor until the market goes down. So when the market goes up, everybody's like, I'm making money, I'm a long-term investor, But when market goes down, everybody panics. So that's something keep in mind, that most people are unable to control their emotions when market goes down, and that's how they like lose money. But anyway,
A lot of people can't even control their emotions from day to day with just normal stuff.
you're gonna transition to a supervisor role.
No, I'm just saying, like it's tough to be able to control your emotions. So you kind of have to prepare yourself or like exercise that skill, whether anything in everyday life. So it's just like it's just a precaution, that it's not doesn't come overnight. You kind of have to practice it.
Especially when it comes to the stock market, it's
Yeah.
even more difficult
Mhm.
because psychology is working against you.
Yeah, so I think the best way to like get started with practicing is start investing in the stocks that you like genuinely interested in, not what's hot or what's going, you know, that you think that will do well from a hunch, like do what interests you, and then you go through those emotions day to day, and then you get to monitor yourself, and then later on when you see the time like is right, like now when everything is going down and like the whole stock market is going to, going to shit basically, when you should buy, buy low, sell high, then you can already, you already practice going through the emotional roller coaster before then. So at least that's what I'm trying to do. But
Well,
yeah.
yeah, like there's study has been done showing that when it comes to money, everybody's emotion runs higher than other topics. I
Mm,
forgot like a few subjects like money, politics, maybe religion or something else. Like when they talk about these things, their brain shuts down. Like the logical part of their brain shuts down and they become way more emotional. And they
mm,
like make a decision based on instinct. And then on top of that, there's a more specific study done on the stock market or just in general, like losing money and making money. And they found that people are twice like the pain of losing money is at least twice as strong as the joy of making money. That's why a lot of people avoid risk. But in the stock market scenario is if your stock goes up, you're happy, but you're not that happy.
mm.
Especially if your stock is up for a while, it's similar to the previous point that people get accustomed to it. People just assume, oh, this is the new price now. It's going to be this price forever. But when it falls, people's pain they feel is twice as much. So they rather to sell it out to not feel the pain for it to go down than waiting for it to go up because the joy of it going up is not as much as the pain going down. And this is, you can pretty easily see this if you just do a quick mental exercise. If you say a stock is $10 or whatever it is, and you bought it and you went up to $20, $30, you'll be very happy, but just, okay with it. But then over a month, it goes to 30, you'll be very happy. But then it goes down to 29, 28, and every day it goes down $1, let's say. Your emotion, the stress you feel during that month, it will be crazy. But let's say during a month, it dropped from $30 to $10. You lose, like 70% of it. You will feel so much stress during that month. But if you really look at it by the number, actually you started out with $10. Oh, went up a month, went down a month, you ended up with $10. It actually never moved. If it never went up, it never went down. If it was $10 to begin with, it stayed at $10 for 2 months, you would still be at $10. But you wouldn't feel anything if it was at $10 the whole time. Whereas if it went up for a month and went down for a month, your stress will be crazy for the 2 months. But in reality, nothing actually happened.
Yeah, that's why I say like it's important to just condition yourself. So for example, like I got Tesla at like, let's say 500 just to make it easy. And then it broke 1,000 and I was so happy. And then after a few weeks, it went down to like 700. Like I lost all the money that I quote potentially made, but that's not the case. And I know that it's always going to go up and down. Like after the first few rounds, I was so on edge. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making money. I'm losing money. I'm making money. Now that I'm used to it and I'm conditioned, I'm like, okay, well, this the way that the stock market is. This is the way the game works. So I just have to be patient with it. So that's why I say, like, just from my experience on a small stock, a tiny fraction, a minuscule piece, just to like, you're
Yeah.
not,
And
you don't really know what it's like unless you go through it and you have stake in it or you have like skin in the game.
Yeah, even people from YouTube who I know for a fact that they bought Tesla below $50. So when they go to 1,000, they made like hella money, right?
Yeah.
But then when it goes down to 800, they act like it's the end of the world. They're like, oh my God, it's crashing another, 200. It's crazy. Like it's, the world is ending. But they bought at $30. Like even if it never went up to 1,000, it only went up to 800, they would be static. Ecstatic. What's the word?
Ecstatic.
Ecstatic. They would have been ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
Whatever. Okay. Whatever. Right? In life, sometimes you only give 2 tries. But anyway, so the whole point is, if they bought at 30, it went up to 800, they will be very happy. Whereas, hold on, this is a good point. Okay.
Be very happy instead of ecstatic.
They're not really ecstatic. But whereas from $30, if we go up to 1,000 and drop to 800, to them, it's like, it's such tragic event. It's crazy, the end of the world. It's all of these like imaginary artificial scenarios, that tortures people.
Mhm.
But a quick point with that is that, you need to make a decision. Now you, Chantelle, but then the listeners, the
Chantal.
upcoming new investors, you don't have to get good at this. You don't have to control your emotions and things like this. If you can understand yourself, you're like, this is not my strong suit, and I don't care improving on it. That's fine. You can invest in index, and you can still make money. You can still make.
If you can afford index off the bat, that's what I'm saying.
No, but with
Like,
index, you can buy any amount. You can buy $1, $2, whatever.
oh yeah, I guess you can.
Yeah, so if you don't want to learn all of these complicated things and look into companies and have these emotional roller coasters, then you can even set up a thing with your bank to say, oh, every month just buy $200 of this index, and don't even ask me, don't tell me what price you bought, then you will automatically buy it for you, and then you just never check it. Don't even check it.
What's the ROI on index average usually? More than 77%, right?
It's around 7-8% a year compounded.
Oh, that's pretty average.
No, it's pretty good. It's
Really?
yeah,
Because
because
apparently that's what the pension people be saying that, oh, we'll match it 50%. It'll grow 7 to 8%, and you receive it back when you retire.
yeah, but then think about that. I don't I don't know if I should, but anyways, okay, so to maybe two things with that. Even if they do do that, they give you 8%, let's say, you still end up with less money because you pay them a fee. So if, let's say, if you can just automatically invest in index and get 8%, why would you pay someone to get 8% for you?
Hmm.
That's A. And then B, a lot of them actually don't achieve it. They just make false promises. Warren Buffett actually famously in 2000 or something made a bet with a fund manager. He said, I bet that most of fund managers are going to underperform the index. He bet like $2 million or something, and he won, obviously. But
Obviously,
yeah,
it's Warren Buffett.
yeah, but this is over the long term. Again, you need to be a long-term investor no matter what. Over the long term, you buy the index at any point. Like it can be the highest point you ever seen. It can be lowest point you ever seen. It doesn't matter. Over a year, your chance of making money is 54%. But over 10 years is 97% or 95%. And over 20 years is 100%. So if you go back in time and just throw darts at the stock index, time period, you can throw it at any time and you just say, I'm gonna buy it. You would have made money if you fast forward 20 years. So if you, again, like this is your personal decision. Now, again, not to you, Chantal, is to listeners, okay? It's your personal decision to decide, okay, do I want to be in stock market? And then boom, you made that decision. Okay, I'm going to be in stock market. Then the next decision, like, am I going to be an index investor or do I want to pick stocks by myself?
Maybe you can have a little bit of both.
Yeah, you can have both. So you can have mixed. Like you can be like, oh, I want the amount of money that's safe in index, and then I want to take the extra that I can afford to lose and deal with it myself. Like either way, like any combination is fine. But I'm just saying, like, you know, if you cannot handle the emotional stress, you don't have to be like, no, I'm going to force myself to be stressed out all the time. You know, you don't have to be. There are different ways of making the same money. Because I've seen, I listen to a lot of investing channels, YouTube channels. A lot of them deal with it a different way. Some people improve their emotions. Some people, there's a person who I know, he says, I only look at market stock market when it goes up. When it goes down, I don't open it. Then they asked him why. He said, I want to associate investing with good feeling. So I invest more and more over the long term. I don't want to associate investing with stress and feeling sad and feeling regret and all these things. Eventually I will break, I will stop investing. Because logically, if I know over long term I keep investing, it's going to be good for me financially, then I'm just going to program my mind emotionally to enjoy investing. So then it's going to benefit me. But I'm not, you know, like there's no one method I would recommend to everybody. You got to assess your situation and think about. Also, there's like the personal life side. If you take a lot of risks with your personal life and then you go very, very safe with investing, then that's cool too. Or the other way around, your job is extremely stable. It gives you good money. That you can afford to take some risks with your investing, then you take some risk on the side. You know, it's very situational. Anyways, the second point I was gonna make is all investing is value investing. Like 99% of people get this wrong. They investing, even like news outlet, the people who give advice, all these people, they categorize all different stocks as this is value stock, this is growth stock, this is like, you know, if you're a value investor, you should buy this, but if you're a growth investor, you should buy that. But then all investing is value investing. It's just what you can understand. If you understand growth companies better, then invest in growth. If you understand, you know, stable companies better, then invest in those. But then what you're trying to do, what everybody's trying to do is get the best value out of their dollar. They're all the same thing. People have this, I don't know what it is, but they want to categorize things into things that don't have a category. There's Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger had a shareholder meeting, okay? And somebody asked them, they said, why did they bought a small stake in Amazon, I think. And then they asked them, how come you've been saying you're a value investor, but now you're trying to invest in growth stocks? Like what's up with that? Like why are you betraying your own philosophy? And then they basically echo my point, okay? Not saying they learned from me, not saying
what the heck, you learned from them.
Okay. But we learn from each other, okay? But essentially they're just saying it's all investing is value investing. You're just trying to find the best value for your dollar, no matter what the company. They said they missed Amazon back in the day, but they don't feel so bad. because Amazon was essentially a miracle. There's no way they could see it coming. But
Mm.
they felt bad missing Google because they had an insurance company called Geico, and they were advertising Geico through Google back in the day, and they saw the advertising conversion rate was through the roof. It's like better than any other platform. They were like, by that, we should have been able to tell Google is special. It's not the same as any other search engine or social media.
Mm.
So they felt bad missing it. Like that's the whole point, is like, if you understand it well and you know this special and you know it's going to do well, then you should invest in it. It's nothing to do with, oh, Google is value investing, so I invest in it, or well, Google is not value stock, then I shouldn't invest in it. I'm a value investor. A dollar is a dollar, you know. But anyways, I think that's pretty much it. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think like people really should be focusing on their asset column. And
Explain
this is my
why asset call.
so asset column is actually things that will return money in your pocket. So yeah. Like I just be learning this because I read like Rich Dad Poor Dad, a book by Robert Kiyosaki. I think that's how you say his last name. And like I have a different take on the assets liability now, the liabilities like column itself, because I thought that having, you know, purchasing a home, whatever kind of home it is, that it's an asset, but at the end of the day, it's a liability because I'm paying in it. It's only an asset until I make money from it. So
Yeah.
let's say if I sell it and it makes money, then great, it happened to become an asset, but you don't know if you're going to make money on a property. And yeah, sure, in Vancouver, most of the time you do make money from it, but like, yeah, at the end of the day, you don't know. You don't know if there's a bubble in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's asset is something that will create or produce value. But
Yeah.
if you buy a house that's just sitting there, or you buy a car that's sitting there, then there are liabilities.
Well, no, cars off the bat is a liability. Once you drive it out the lot, it depreciates. It'll never appreciate.
No, but if you use it to make money, like if you're an Uber driver,
Oh,
your
yeah,
car,
then that's
yeah.
different.
So it's like whatever it is, it's not about what it is, it's about how you're using it. So if
Yeah,
you're
like
using it
how,
to produce
mm,
value, then it is assets. If it's not
yeah,
producing value, sitting there, then it's a liability.
yeah. How I remember it now is like how does that thing, whatever it is, puts money back in my pocket. So
Yeah,
that's how you do it. And
that's
so like I want to go more in depth about this later on, but just like I wanted to touch on that book, like if anyone wanted to get it and start reading it, I think that it's really like
use
valuable
use the
to take in
promo code
college.
down below.
Yeah, I wish.
No, I'm joking. There's no
So
promo.
like, but like even though I think I don't even know how much it is, like $25, like it's all worth the money that you spend on the book, because if you really understand this stuff, you can way more than $25, like than spending $25 on the book. So yeah, I'm just trying to change the way I think about the asset column too. So for example, intellectual property is a big one nowadays because people are using like YouTube or like making their own music and things like that, or royalties. Like it's all it, we'll see how it goes with my journey, but I'm just saying that it's a you have to change your mindset in a way, like you have to really again condition your mind to seeing things differently than what you usually see them for.
Yeah, just
That's
a
my
little
sense.
quick minor correction is
What?
when you say put money in your pocket, that's generating cash flow. But asset doesn't have to generate cash flow, but that's a like for a person who don't want to get into it, they just want to think about it in a simple way. That's a
Yeah.
good like simple way to think about it. But
Like it's a good start,
yeah,
but that's not,
but it
yeah.
doesn't have to generate cash flow for it to be an asset. But but that reminded me of a quick point I think is very important, very like it changes how I saw the world of making money.
Hmm.
Is that investors or people who, and it doesn't have to be investor, I guess, but like people who can run things efficiently see money as people essentially. They, when you have a bunch of employees, you manage them, you put them like, well, this person is best, you know, is most productive in HR, so you put them in HR, and then you find out they don't do well in HR, they do well in marketing, so you move them to marketing. And it's the same thing with money, is that you put them in somewhere and then you find out they don't work well there, then you put them somewhere else.
Hmm.
So you can put people to work, then you are like a person's manager, you're like a manager. But if you put money to work, then you're an investor.
Hmm.
There's, you know, there's use for money and there's productivity of money. There's like, that's why in business they call uh, money capital, and they call employees human capital. So they're like essentially the same thing.
Hmm.
You just need to deploy them like well. So like if you think about like dollar, if you have like $100, they're like 100 little minions that you can send to different places to work for you. If you manages your money well, send them to appropriate places, then you can make money from just deploying money. You don't have to
Hmm.
do physical work yourself. It's the same way that managers put people in position to do work so they don't have to do work themselves. But people understand that concept pretty well. They understand, oh, this is a manager, their job is to manage people. And he's not doing all the work, but then they are, and he's like, you know, he's like managing them. But people don't understand this about managing money. People, I think people have like a little bit of ego with money because since they were born, they've been dealing with money, so they just think they're experts. Like, I've been making money since I was like 16. I've been spending money since I was a 1 year old, you know, so they don't. But then there's like level to this shit. There's like different ways of seeing money, managing money, how you move money around. You know, there's like a person who made an analogy of money is just like a river. No matter you're there or not there, it's gonna flow. So
Hmm.
it's, if you know how to make it flow the right way, then you're gonna get any amount of money out of it you want. It's not all about, you know, quote unquote hard work and degrees and certificates and, you know, like all of these things to make more money. But anyways, you know, actually just quick you know, quick example of that is offices. People always equate to big fancy offices in downtown or whatever to like success. Like that's the business they're making money, that's success. But then through 2020, we have seen that's actually not the case. That doesn't mean you have success.
Hmm.
Actually, Elon Musk tweeted about this like a couple weeks ago. He said, "I'm planning to take the headquarters of Twitter and convert it into a homeless shelter because it's doing nothing there. Nobody goes there anyways." But anyways, that
I didn't read that one, but that would be
was like
interesting.
that was like a few weeks ago before any of this Twitter thing drama happened. Now Twitter is on hold too. Did you hear about this?
Everything is on hold.
Yeah, it's But it's like that's what I'm saying, you know, that's what I'm worried about is
Yeah.
a lot of these businesses and you know things are on hold, but people's spending is not on hold. So they're gonna
Yeah.
find themselves in a pretty because all of these things have a delayed effect. When they raise interest rate or you know business stop hiring or any of this, you're not gonna see the effect the next day. But then it trickles down over a few months. But then like in the meanwhile, if you're still overspending, like everything's gonna be okay. And then when it hits you, it's gonna hit you real hard. And
Mhm.
and it's gonna be extra hard for you. Like for example, if you keep overspending and then 3 months down the line, boom, it hits you, you're like, oh shit, I don't have enough money. I gotta find a second job just to find out that this job market is tight, nobody's hiring, so you couldn't even find a second job. So your options is even limited when you're in the bad position.
Mhm.
That makes it like triple worse. So hopefully more people get to watch this video, hear about you know the reality and manage their share well and give me a cut in the future
Oh, wow.
if they make a lot of
Already
money.
collecting without seeing the effects.
They make a lot of money in the future, you know, hearing my words of wisdom.
Okay. Well then, having said all that,
It's a
don't
quick
be,
it's a
huh?
quick joke is there's a coach that taught for as a hobby. The Thai coach I showed you, he
Yeah.
sadly passed away, but a video of him is like he so he's the coach of the gym owner, and the gym owner is the coach of GSP. And then the Thai coach was just in the gym berating. Is that a word?
Berating, yeah. Berating. Mhm.
Berating GSP. He was like, you're making millions. You should give me a cut. I teach you all of you Muay Thai. You should give me 5%. And then for us, a hobby who's the Muay Thai coach's student was like, 5% really? You should be 10%. You did so much. And then he was like, oh, 5% good enough. Remember, I'm serious. Give me 5%. Yeah. So I'm
Mhm.
that guy. Okay, 5%. Don't need to give me 10. 5 is good enough.
All right. Well, having said all that, don't be normal, be yourself. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.